This is a storm that we at the Weather Network in Canada covered from start to finish and still carries a legend status among all who lived it in our Maritimes. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History, now in its second year from the Weather Network in Canada. This is one of those events that carries so much reverence that everyone claims to have lived it. But if as many people who have made this claim actually did live through this, then White Juan would have been affected by close to 20 million people when it happened this day in weather history. Some background first. We do not name winter storms here in Canada. We have way too much class for that. But this one got this moniker for a reason, a really good reason. There once was a hurricane named Juan, and it highlighted the summer of 2003 for the Canadian Maritime Provinces. Hurricane Juan made landfall between Shad Bay and Prospect in Halifax on September 29th of 2003 as a Category 2 hurricane, packing winds of up to 160 kilometers per hour, that's about 100 miles per hour, and held that strength as it rolled all over Nova Scotia from south to north before weakening to a Cat 1 over Prince Edward Island. It was historical in its own right, and we covered it in detail on that day in weather history. So when this winter event happened on this day in weather history, Juan became the unofficial name given to the hurricane strength nor'easter blizzard. This storm started approximately 200 kilometers or 120 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, on February 17th, then intensified over the Gulf Stream, moving at between 35 and 40 kilometers per hour, that's between 20 and 25 miles per hour, moving due north and then making a direct bullseye strike on Atlantic Canada. This storm leveled a mighty heavy snowfall throughout the Nova Scotia Peninsula and Prince Edward Island area. In the hardest hit areas, totals ranged from 50 to 100 centimeters. That's between 20 and 40 inches of snow.
I was up at 5 o'clock this morning just to clean up around my car, so yeah, it was a long day.
Just to drive into the city from here to downtown, four-wheel drive or not, you couldn't see very much.
The snow was falling at one point at a ridiculous rate of 5 centimeters or 2 inches per hour, and that went on for 12 straight hours. The snowstorm dropped a record-breaking 95.5 centimeters or just under 38 inches of snow on CFB Shearwater, that's Canadian Forces Base, Shearwater, beating the previous record of 73.2 that was set back on February 1st of 1960. It also broke the record for the most snow in Yarmouth with over 100 centimeters, that's about 40 inches of snow, clobbering the previous record of 67.8 centimeters that fell on January 16th of 1977. There were numerous unofficial reports that came in from locals with measuring sticks in their own yards, and they were reporting nearly 150 centimeters, that's about 60 inches, in many regions across the province. 60 inches, by the way, is 5 feet, if you are not familiar with that direct translation. What made it all the more painful were some of the sustained winds that were ranging from 60 to 80 kilometers per hour through much of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador, with maximum 1-minute gusts. Those are gusts that would last at least 60 seconds of 120 kilometers or 75 miles per hour, reported at many stations.
Really, really windy. So I was out last night but couldn't get anything going because it's too harsh to even breathe. Oh, it was crazy. Very, very big storm. And
officially, 2 weather stations in the Halifax Regional Municipality reported 10-second gusts. These are gusts that just came in for 10 seconds, nearing 147 kilometers per hour. That's just over 90 miles an hour.
The house was shaking and the roof was shaking. I thought the roof was caving in, actually, but by the time we got downstairs it had stopped, so I realized that it had to have been the chimney, and we looked out and both chimneys were down.
And while all of this was going on, weather radar observations as well as synoptic reports showed extensive thunder snow embedded within the blizzard. People must have been fearing that this was the end of times. In some of the heaviest bands, accumulation rates were exceeding 20 centimeters per hour. That's 8 inches per hour. That is also known as cataclysmic. So, a little quick math here. You take the wind combined with the intense snow rates, and you get visibility of 1 meter or 3.5 feet or less in most areas for brief periods. However, these conditions persisted for at least 8 hours in much of Nova Scotia, and there it is. That qualifies for the blizzard warning. But that is not all the wind was responsible for. It also whipped up snow drifts, which in some cases covered 2- and 3-story buildings. It made many roads totally impassable to both common motor vehicles and snow removal equipment alike. All schools were closed in Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, as a province-wide state of emergency was declared for White Juan, this day in weather history. Tomorrow is February 19th, and we are looking back to a multi-car pileup that redefined the definition of multi-car pileup. The year was 2020, and we were only a few weeks away from putting the closed sign on Mother Earth for a long time, when about 200 vehicles were involved in a massive road accident on Highway 15 on Montreal's South Shore. Be here for the full podcast version so you get the whole story. With me, your host, Chris May.